The day our llama paid the price. If you've never heard a grown man scream like a wounded animal, then you've never felt the gut punch I did when our therapy llama, Daisy, let out her final, heartbreaking bleat in our backyard. I'm Tom Bradley, a 52-year-old widower living in a cookie-cutter suburb in Ohio, where every house looks like it was spat out of a suburban planning algorithm. My daughter, Emma, and I moved here 3 years ago after a car accident stole her mother and left Emma grappling with trauma so deep she barely spoke. Daisy, our certified therapy llama, was her lifeline until a power-hungry HOA president and a reckless hunting club changed everything. It started with a mystery. Our electricity went haywire. Power tools in my garage flickered off mid-cut. The sprinkler system buzzed like it was possessed, and the heat lamp in Daisy's stable kept shutting off. I'm no electrician, but I know a problem when my table saw dies mid-project. I checked the breakers fine. Reset the outlets nothing. Then, like a poltergeist, everything roared back to life. I thought it was a fluke until it happened again. And again, neighbors started chiming in. Mike, a retired utility worker, said his garage door opener was acting drunk, and Lisa, 2 doors down, swore her smart fridge ordered 20 pounds of shrimp without her consent. I mapped the complaints and noticed a pattern. The outages hit hardest near the wooded greenbelt behind our properties, land owned by the HOA. Then I saw them trucks with camo netting and gun racks parked near the trailhead. One morning, I followed one. A group of men in hunter orange were unloading rifles, one holding a map with zones marked in red, creeping close to our backyard. "What's this about?" I asked. A guy with a crooked grin said, "Dear problem. HOA gave us the go-ahead." "Who in the HOA?" I pressed. "Lady with the clipboard. Gave us keys to the back gate." That lady was Margaret, our HOA president, a woman who wielded her authority like a scepter. She'd never liked Daisy, calling her farmyard filth, despite the llama's therapy certification, complete with a psychiatrist's endorsement. Margaret's emails were curt. No known electrical issues. Check your wiring. But I wasn't buying it. I dug deeper, finding a vague HOA newsletter footnote about a wildlife management partnership. No vote, no details, just Margaret's word. The power issues weren't random. Someone was tapping our grid, likely running generators or trail cams in the woods. I confronted Margaret while she was trimming her roses with surgical precision. "Did you give hunters access to the greenbelt?" I asked. She didn't flinch. "They're licensed wildlife technicians. Nothing for you to worry about. They're 5 feet from my yard where my daughter plays with her therapy animal." I shot back. Her smile was colder than an Ohio winter. "Perhaps you should relocate your pet. Not everyone finds it charming." I installed motion sensors and switched Daisy's stable to battery power. Emma made a sign. "Daisy lives here. She's a good girl. Don't scare her." I didn't tell her the hunters wouldn't care about signs. I hoped it would blow over until the morning I woke to silence. No hum from the fridge, no buzz from the sprinklers. Outside, 2 hunters stood at my fence, one raising binoculars toward Daisy as she grazed. I bolted across the lawn, heart pounding, and planted myself between them and her. "What the hell are you doing?" I warned. The older one, with a tobacco-stained smirk, said, "Relax, we're just checking the tree line." The other flashed an HOA badge. "We've got rights to be here." Margaret said anything beyond the utility trench is fair game. Utility trench? That explained the power spikes. I'd seen a trench dug near the community center, assumed it was for irrigation. Now I knew they were siphoning electricity. I led Daisy to her stable, hands shaking, and called the sheriff. They said without proof of a crime, it was an HOA matter. The utility company promised an inspection, but it would take days. Emma came home from school, sensing my tension. "Is Daisy okay?" she asked. I lied to keep her calm, but that night, I watched the backyard like a hawk. At 3 a.m., a flashlight flickered in the woods. I crept outside, catching a man tampering with a metal box near my fence. A spark, a whiff of burning plastic was rigging something. I snapped photos and sent them to the utility company. Days later, I stormed into Margaret's officia glorified shed with fake ferns and a nameplate screaming, "Director of Community Standards." I slapped my photos down. "Your hunters are stealing power and aiming rifles near my daughter's llama." She barely glanced at them. "They're authorized environmental consultants. If you didn't want wildlife issues, you shouldn't have bought a lot near the greenbelt." I warned her I'd file complaints if she hadn't followed HOA bylaws. She smirked. See you at the next meeting. Then it happened. Saturday morning, Emma was at a sleepover. I was installing a new breaker when a gunshot cracked through the air. I sprinted outside. Daisy stood, swaying, blood staining her white fur. Her eyes were wide, panicked. She collapsed as I reached her, her soft bleat fading. I pressed my hands to the wound, called the vet, the police, anyone, but it was too late. Daisy was gone. Grief turned to rage. I wasn't just mourning a pet. I was fighting for my daughter's heart. The vet handed me a bullet casing, saying, "Keep it, just in case." I went to Evelyn, an 80-year-old neighbor with a memory sharper than a tack. She confirmed Margaret hadn't held a vote to allow hunters on HOA land, a violation of bylaws. With help from my friend Ryan, a tech whiz, I uncovered data showing illegal power draws from my house's grid, timed to late-night spikes. Margaret had funneled HOA funds to her cousin's wildlife club, a group banned from hunting in 2 counties. I didn't stop there. I called a local news station, Channel 7, and spilled everything to a reporter named Sarah. She saw gold, a therapy llama, a corrupt HOA, and a grieving kid. Her crew filmed our empty stable and Emma's sign. The story aired at 6 p.m., sparking outrage. By 6:02, my phone exploded with messages. Neighbors demanded an emergency HOA meeting. Margaret stood at the front, spinning lies about vetted consultants. Evelyn waved the bylaws, demanding proof of a vote. Sarah crashed the meeting with a camera, and Margaret crumbled. A petition to oust her gained traction overnight. The legal fight was next. I hired an attorney, Laura, who argued Daisy's death violated disability laws protecting therapy animals. With Ryan's data, my photos, and HOA records, we sued. Surveillance footage showed hunters entering through Margaret's gate, one joking he'd shot a weird deer. The jury didn't flinch. Margaret was found liable, fined, and banned from HOA boards statewide. We won damages for Emma's therapy and emotional distress. Margaret's allies abandoned her, and her cousin's club dissolved amid legal troubles. Emma struggled, but found hope. A therapy farm gifted her a miniature horse, Bella, who nudged her hand like Daisy once did. Evelyn, now HOA president, built a memorial garden called Daisy's Meadow, with a plaque, in memory of Daisy, beloved companion. Neighbors left flowers and drawings. Emma joined a foundation to design a trauma program for kids, her sketches of Daisy inspiring its logo. Months later, Margaret tried to appeal her ban, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. I laughed. Her audacity was pathetic. At the next HOA meeting, Emma wore a shirt with Daisy's image and the words, "She was a good girl." Margaret's appeal was denied amid cheers. Emma whispered, "Did we win?" I nodded. For Daisy. The neighborhood changed. Daisy's Meadow became a gathering place, sunflowers blooming each spring. Emma smiled again, riding Bella under the sunset. Margaret moved away, her reputation in tatters. The fight wasn't just about a llama, it was about standing up to those who think they can bully their way to power. Daisy's legacy lives in every kid Emma helps, and every HOA rule now questioned. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced injustice or senseless loss in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on how we handle violence and accountability in our neighborhoods. Your voice matters.